Magic. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the PAC for this wonderful management Q&A. And to all of the people that are watching us in your homes, you should be down here. I feel like I say this every time. The room is not full enough. This is having a lot of feedback for some reason, maybe. There's a lot of feedback right now, and I don't know exactly why. You can all hear the feedback, can't you?
Test, test.
Okay, can you all hear me now? All right. So again, welcome to the meeting. I am Michelle Grimolia, the president and CEO here at Woodland Pond. I'm going to actually have Philip kick off the presentation of our materials today, and then we will hear from each of our members.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Philip Mail. I'm the director of the Health Center. So that includes skilled nursing and assisted living, which is both Garden View and the assisted living unit, as we like to call it. So updates. Well, as we all know, or maybe some newer folks maybe aren't as sure of the regulations for things that happen over in the health center, or well, just that, much more regulated and specific in terms of what we are permitted to allow to have happen and not allowed to have happen, depending on both community positivity rates, as well as if there's any positive tests for staff or residents within the health center. Okay, so anytime throughout the course of our testing, if a resident or a staff member does test positive, it sets forth this regulatory dominoes of things that we have to keep in place. And without getting terribly deep in the weeds here, I know many of you may have some questions if you have friends or loved ones in assisted living, which right now is under our informal quarantine, as we call it, but really it means droplet and contact precautions. We did have a staff member, as Michelle puts forth in her newsletter a couple of weeks ago, that had tested positive somewhere out in the community. It was actually a vaccinated staff person, but nonetheless, the same repercussions trigger, and we are then directed to place the unit on certain precautions. And unfortunately, that also limits such things as visitations. It limits group dining. It limits group activities, all the things that make life wonderful that we temporarily, in the name of health and safety, have to curtail a bit. As we were headed towards the end of that 14-day quarantine, which is prescriptive, during that period, we're required to test the residents every 4 or 5 days or so. And in the course of that testing, we did end up having a resident. She's fine, but she did test positive. And so that set forth the clock again for this 14-day quarantine. Now, because of the location of that staff person and that resident, there's some variance between the duration of the precautions that will occur on assisted living, that's the second floor of the health center, versus Garden View. So the recent positive test on the resident was not on Garden View, so they're still on the first set of precautions that were triggered by the staff member. So we have another round of testing to go. Should they prove negative, as they all have, with the exception of that one resident throughout this, Garden View will be open for business by the end of this week. Okay, and there will be notification to that to let anyone know who's interested in going to visit their loved ones there. Assisted living, that's pushed off until hopefully the 24th, which is a week from Friday. So if the prescriptive testing that we do ends up in everyone being negative and safe and sound, we will be fully open for business again in terms of visitations, in terms of residents partaking in outings and group activities and communal meals and things like that. I know it's tough It's tough for everyone under these times, particularly for the residents, obviously, and for you all, if you are looking forward to visiting with them. I want to reiterate, we will do anything we can to facilitate what is allowed. So if you need help with virtual visits, if you don't know how to work any of those devices, a phone, a laptop, an iPad or something, there are people throughout the campus who can help you with that. We set up lots of visits that way. Of course, the good old fashioned telephones, remember those? Those still work. You know, we're just looking forward and as eager as everyone else to have you know, all of the freedoms and joys of life afforded to everyone. And to that end is exactly why we are so diligent. Not only are we required to be, but the level of diligence that's required in terms of these restrictions and in terms of the protective personal equipment that our staff have to wear. If there are visitations allowed under compassionate situations, the family members, the visitors, they are also required to wear the protective equipment, which we have. We will show you how to use it. We will make sure that you have all the education on that as possible. Skilled, however, knocking on all the wood that's possible. No positive tests in quite some time, and everything's pretty much running full speed there. We have communal dining, which everyone has been enjoying after so many months of not being able to have it, group activities and things like that. So that's kind of where we are with that. I hope that wasn't terribly confusing, but I am certainly open to any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you. For our own expectations, the staff person as well as the resident who tested positive but had been vaccinated, can you describe what their physical reactions were to the disease?
So the resident herself is largely asymptomatic, which obviously is great news because the resident was vaccinated also. 100% of all the residents in the health center and any level of care are vaccinated. Which is good news because studies show it makes us 10 to 11 times less likely to end up in a hospital or with a serious condition or die. So that's the good news. The staff person, my understanding was mild symptoms. You know, it just, just the way it is though, if you test positive and even have no symptoms, a positive is a positive because while you yourself may be feeling fine and feeling like you could take on the world, the person next to you that you have the potential of affecting may have some pre-existing conditions or be under a situation where they would not react so well. But good question. Yes.
Hang on, Maddie.
Okay, so speaking of the person next to you, what is it that you're asking us to do about masking? And this is as much to Michelle as to anyone else. I'm looking around and I'm seeing quite a difference in who is wearing a mask and not. And I'm trying to be a good girl, which doesn't happen often. But I don't want to wear this damn mask if I don't have to.
So I think that answer is going to differ on where you are within Woodland Pond. In the health center itself, there are very specific regulations that we must follow. So anyone who enters the health center at the very least is going to be wearing a mask, okay? On the unit that currently has the positive case, we are wearing an N95 for which people are professionally fitted for, as well as some sort of goggles or face shield. If they're going to have contact, prolonged contact, not waving in the doorway or quick, but in providing care or something, a gown is worn also because this would protect if there are droplets throughout the course of care that would get on the person. So it's that full level of PPE, as we call it, on the units that are currently under those precautions. On skilled, it's not much different. It's still a mask, N95 not necessary unless there's something specific to the resident. And eye shields too.
She's doing that because she wants to hear about independent living. So I'll chime in on that. So for independent living, we are strongly recommending that you wear your masks inside, period. Yes, like here, for example. Yes, like right, but it's not a requirement. And so that's what I said in my last communication, and that was in the Chanticleer Friday. There is no indoor mask requirement at the state level. There's no current indoor mask requirement at Woodland Pond, but we are strongly recommending it. And as you can see, we're all wearing our masks. That being said, it's your choice. It's a free country and we're not requiring anything right now because we have no outbreaks, knock on wood, in independent living. And we just have one positive person in assisted living. So this could be subject to change at any time. I would say that it's very prudent that you wear your mask if you go to the store, you go to the doctor's office. There's no reason not to be masked. Right now, the rates are going up, but just keep an eye on it and use your best judgment. Do you have a question, Betsy?
And if you wear a mask, it needs to be over your nose and your mouth, or it's not doing any good.
That's right. Right back to March of 2020. All right, Philip, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Not unless there's any more questions.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your meetings. Jason?
Okay. Take my mask off. Can everyone hear me fine with my mask on? Betsy? Okay. I just have a few things to talk about and then I'll be on my way. The first thing I want to talk about is shopping buses. So everyone knows that we've now started the Saturday shopping as well. We've got Wednesday and Saturday. Those are the only 2 days we're going to shop. If anyone needs to go on another day, try to schedule it for Wednesdays and Saturdays. Again, it's best for us and to keep it on that schedule. With the buses, with medicals, everyone knows I'm just going to reiterate a lot of things that we say all the time. Medical appointments, 72 hours notice in advance, just so we know we can accommodate it. Michelle's been talking about this for a little while. Also, I want to reiterate that any off-day appointments, we are going to charge now $30, meaning if you schedule an appointment on Tuesday for Wappingers Falls and we don't go to Tuesday or Wappingers Falls, it's a $30 charge. And again, that's only if we have the availability. So call in advance. As soon as you get the appointment, once you leave the doctor's office, give me a call, give the concierge desk a call, and we'll see if we can accommodate it. And if we can, I'll put it on my calendar. Also, outings, as we start getting, more and more outings for the last like 3 months, we've been doing more and more outings. This month coming up, you'll see the list go out. I think if it's not out already, it's going out today. For next month, there's going to be a lot of trips with tickets that we need to purchase. So if you sign up for those trips, you're held to those tickets. It's just as if you were purchasing those tickets yourself. If you end up canceling, and we find someone to take the ticket, you're off the hook. But if we don't find anyone, if you cancel the same day or the day before, we can't find anyone to take that trip, you're still going to get charged for the ticket. So just keep that in mind when you sign up for trips. Again, we've got a lot coming up next month. There's still some this month. Stop at the concierges for the list. Sign up, get out, at least while we still can before it gets cold and while there's still outdoor events. Moving on, next thing. I wanted to talk about this too. Recently, I don't know if everyone's aware, recently we rolled back the concierge hours as well. So where we used to be open during the pandemic, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., now it's to 9 p.m. So those doors, the front doors will lock at 9 p.m. now. The concierge staff or the concierge desk is staffed until 9 p.m. That also, this is another thing I want to talk about. I want you to all test your badges too. Make sure your badges work. Because if you ever get, locked out of the building, there's always a phone you can call, but you just want to make sure your badges work on the exterior doors. Again, it'll lock at 9, but make sure your badges work. And also your PERS pendants, test out your PERS pendants. If you don't use it that often, it's sitting in a drawer, sitting in the box, you never use it. Every once in a while, just test it out. Call the concierge desk and tell them, I'm going to test my PERS. I just want to make sure it works. Frequently, you'll see a battery replacement notification in your mailbox too. Make sure you bring it down because those batteries go quick and we want them to work. Here's one thing I wanted to talk about, and Sarah may talk about it as well. Grace, our fitness coordinator, has classes a few days a week. We want the turnout to get bigger. There's people showing up. I know people still watch from home, but we want more people down here in the pack taking the classes, go out on Gracie's walks. I don't know if Sarah had this on her list, but I wanted to mention it. She's great. She wants to help. She's here for the residents. Come down, take the classes, get moving, come see Gracie. Check the calendar, check the concierge desk, find out what she's doing and come down. Oh, this is another thing I wanted to talk about. So I don't know how often this actually happens, but if you ever have to call EMS for whatever reason, say you're calling for yourself or calling for your significant other, make sure you're calling the concierge desk as well. A lot of times, if you're pressing your PERS, we're calling EMS. But if you ever have to do it yourself, like in a cottage or, you know, anywhere, it doesn't matter where. If you're calling EMS, we should know, especially if it's on the overnight. You know, EMS, the doors are locked, they can't get in. Security has to come and open the doors. We want to make sure security can open the doors, let EMS in. Again, I don't know how often this is happening, but just keep this in mind. Always call, you know, the concierge desk, no matter what time. It'll get routed to security if it's overnight, and just so they know EMS is on the way. So at the concierge, most of you are aware of this, but for those of you who aren't, behind the concierge desk, there's mail folders. Every so often, if you get something sent to you that doesn't have your apartment on it, it will get stored at the concierge desk in your folder. Make sure you're checking that periodically, once a week or twice a week, just to see if there's any mail that wasn't delivered to your mailbox in the mailroom. Also, if anyone is in rehab, those rehab schedules get delivered every Friday. Check Friday afternoons or check Saturdays, Sundays for your rehab schedule the next week. And that's it. Anyone have any questions for me? Quick and easy. All right. See you later.
I fell on the floor and I can't stand up. So I'm not gonna call the concierge.
Okay, so that's when you wear your PERS pendant,
Right.
press your pendant, and we'll respond, whether it's someone calling the apartment. If you can make it to your phone, answer, say you need
What if
help.
I pull the string on the wall?
Same thing. That'll go off. You're talking about in the bathroom.
Yeah,
So Purnama's referring to the bathroom pull station. If you fall in the bathroom, there's a pull station near your toilet. There's one in the shower too. If you pull that down, it'll alert the concierge desk. And you know, the way it works is when we see an alarm go off, the first thing we do is call the apartment. If we don't get an answer, that's when we'll dispatch either someone from maintenance or whoever's here at the time will get dispatched. If it's security on the overnight, one of the guys will come to the apartment and check on the resident. If it's needed. Yeah, we've used it only a handful of times, but if it's a situation where the resident can get up on their own and nothing's injured, we've tried it a few times with people that have been trained to help a resident get off the ground using like a 2-chair method. But you know, we don't have to get in that now, but it is an option if the situation allows for it. Any other questions? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robert Dunn, Director of Environmental Services. A couple of things I wanted to touch on. My staff has mentioned to me, and it's not everyone's department, but if you guys can just make sure the counters are fairly clear, you know, of debris, personal items, and all that kind of stuff when they come in and clean. They've noticed that a little bit lately. Some of you just, you know, the counters are cluttered or whatever. Just try and keep those areas as clean as possible. So when it's time for your cleaning, then we can come in and clean those areas effectively. Okay, it's one thing that the staff had mentioned. Also, thank you for your patience on the windows. I know that that's always kind of a challenge when we do that throughout the entire building. We can never give specific times. A lot of people call and say when they come in, when they get there. That's usually the answer I give. Because they run on their own schedule, depending on how fast they move through the building and how everything goes. But I always thank you for your patience, and I hope your windows look a little better this year. Okay. Any questions for me? That's all I really have. Yeah, just lots of questions so Tom can walk around some.
Hi, Jeffrey Gibson.
Hi, Mr. Gibson.
Hiya. What's the rationale for not allowing your folks to move objects in the cottage? They seem to be fairly competent and could be trusted with that responsibility. And I guess not allowing them to move objects really does get in the way of some dusting, I think.
Yes, you're kind of right on that, but we've always had the policy that we don't want to handle personal items that are yours. We'd rather have you take care of that. Like, we're not going into your china cabinet and dusting inside of there. But if you have things on the counter, if it's just a coffee maker, then yeah, we can move the coffee maker, you know, and stuff like that. If we're not doing that, then let me know. We should be. But I'm talking about general personal items that aren't normally on your counter space, whether it's a toaster oven or a coffee maker, that's fine. We can clean that, pull that out and clean that. But when there's a lot of, you know, bills and books and personal items and knickknacks, and then all of a sudden you can't see the counter, that's really what I'm talking about. It's not, you know, those are the areas we need to address so we can clean the counter effectively. Okay, you're welcome. Somebody else had a question. All the way over there, Tom.
Right.
I just want to mention to you, I have the windows, by the way, you know, and I had a company that did the windows for me. They did a fantastic job this year. I was very, very pleased with it.
Good, good.
And he was very nice,
Good.
the guy.
I think as you bring that up, one of the window guy had mentioned next year, there are some of you that have glassed in porches. He was probably going to separate them out next year and say, okay, if we've got 15 glass porches that need to be cleaned, we're going to do them separately after all the main windows are cleaned, because he feels like it's kind of invasive in how that goes, especially since you guys are paying him separately for that portion of it. So that might happen next year when we kind of, you know, get back to doing the windows. Okay, so it might be a different scheduled time after the main cleaning. He'll come back and just do those porches separately. But that's one thing he had mentioned this year, if maybe we can do that going forward. So we'll work on that next year. So there might be 2 different schedules next year for that. Anything else for me? No? All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Tom Tango, Director of Plant Operations. I only have a couple things, and then I'll take some questions, and I'm sure there'll be more. Today, the building inspector, New Paltz building inspector, came through to do the annual fire inspections in the central wing. They didn't do, last year they did south, next year he'll do north. This year he did central. What you were finding is couple things that you will be coming around. Just like last year, we can't keep anything, you know, nothing can be stored in the closet with the HVAC equipment. You know, there's a closet in everybody's apartment that has the heater, air conditioner in there. You can't store anything in there, even if it's, you know, just a broom. There can't be anything in there. The other issue is door closers. I know that people don't like the door closers, but we have to have them on the door when he comes through. They're not making a big issue about it, but as they come through, if these items aren't there, which day there's a few missing, late tomorrow, I'm going to get a big list from him that I need to get all them on, and then he's going to come back unannounced, and they need to be there. So I know sometimes the door closers sometimes disappear, but they can't disappear. They need to stay there. The other thing is we are going to come. We started last week. We'll be coming around the doorknobs that go out to your porches. When Woodland Pond was built, the doorknobs were put on the doors with a key to open the door, like a regular entry doorknob. But the key is on the outside of your porch. And there have been cases where people have been out on their porch without their key and the door is locked. And they're out there without a phone. They're out there without their cell phone. And there have been a few instances that some not good things have resulted. So we are going around and making sure that all of those doorknobs are switched around so that you cannot lock yourself out on the porch. We're not doing that on the first floor. First floor, it gets left alone. But if it's not a ground floor apartment, then we are switching them around, right? We're not, and it's, we're knocking on the door, and if you're not there, we're not doing it. We'll come back. And then the last thing I just want to remind you is, another favorite topic is snow. It's coming. The only thing I would do is ask everybody to make sure that if you got a new car, we know whose car it is. Make sure you tell concierge, that we have a new car. So that if we need to get the car moved, we know whose car it is. With that, any questions?
I'm on the 5th floor. When I moved into this apartment, there was no question of whoever had the apartment before me fixed it so that it can't lock the door to the patio. I know it can never happen to me.
If we come by and the lock is rendered so that it can't lock, and you are correct, there are some, then we'll leave it alone, right? Well, and that's what we're doing. We're turning it around. So it does do that. Right. Right. Same thing. Right.
Tom, I have recently joined the number of people whose driveway divider has collapsed, so that the planting that is in there is not yet hopeless, and I'll make it through the season. But are you getting anywhere on that?
Have I been as active on it as I should have been? No. But do I need to? Yes.
Because it occurred to me, I don't know whether this works, but that something like the waist-high planters that you have out in the garden, if you can find a way to fit them inside those things, that's enough.
The problem with the dividers, and we're talking about, is in front of all the cottages, there are planters that look like they're made of stone. And they're there. We have to have them. We have to have something there because the gas meter is right behind them. While they look like they're made of stone, they're not. They're stone glued to plywood. And the plywood is held up by wood. And then we put dirt in them and get them wet. And now they're falling apart. The design of them was not good. So I was looking into it, and truthfully, I just haven't, but I will. And I would ask that when you see me in the hall, yell at me and keep telling me to look into it.
Did I just hear that correctly?
Bother me about it.
All right.
No, because you're right. I do, because it's something I need to come up with the proper replacement. And then what I want to do is take them all away, and there's going to be a pad. And then I want to put the proper replacement down. And what I hope to do is select a few candidate replacements and share it with the ops committee, and we'll look at it, and we'll pick it out and get input. You're not going to walk out your house someday and see something you don't know, but
Okay.
I do need to get it done.
All right. I promise I'll take you up on that.
You got it.
I will too, Manny.
Yeah, after the recent storm Ida did what it did in New York City, I became concerned because they spoke of like 3.5 inches of rain in an hour. And while we've never had something like that here, and hopefully we won't, but what I'm concerned about is the drains. In particular, in front of my apartment, on first floor apartment, there's a depression and a drain.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but, and Michelle backed me up, just 2 days ago, I signed a contract. Next week, don't know what day yet, we're getting all of the we're going to start on getting all of the storm drains cleaned.
Thank you.
The entire property. It might not, the entire property might not happen this year. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But all of the storm drains everywhere go back to the retention pond. Not all of them, but most of them. So what we're going to do is having a company that comes in with a hydrojet. It's like a really high pressure hose, and they will go through and clean out all the drains. Some of our drains are 3 inches, but then they go to 8-inch mains, and we have some 24-inch concrete ones. So we're gonna clean out all those drains. And then if a problem is noted while they're cleaning it, they send a camera up there and we see what the problem is, if there is, and then we can address it. But there are areas of this building that when it rains, floods, and there have been, we know it. Before I do much about the floods, I need to first make sure, just like you said, that all the drains are flowing properly. So a company named TAM Enterprises, you'll see the big, it's like a big, huge, looks like a tanker truck. It's a big vacuum and a big tank. And they'll be here next week. I've
Thank
worked
you.
with them for years. And I didn't pay him to say that. That's it. All right, thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Leonard. I'm the Resident Services Director. Nice to see you all. And hi, everybody who's at home watching. So I just have a few announcements activities wise. So Grace had put out a short fitness survey, and it was emailed to those of you who utilize email, and it was also placed in cubbies for those of you who wish to have paper copies. And it's also available at the concierge desk. And there was an announcement about it in the Chanticleer. So those surveys are due this coming Friday, the 17th. And if you need to get a copy, they're available at the concierge. So please go ahead and fill those out because she's looking forward to receiving your feedback. And also Kaleidoscope registration forms. If you're interested in having a table at the Kaleidoscope, you need to sign up for that and register by Friday, the 17th also. Sure. So Kaleidoscope of the Arts is something that we've been doing for, boy, when was the first time we did it? For several years now. And what it is it's the Kaleidoscope of the Arts show and sale. And it's an opportunity for everyone who lives at Woodland Pond to share their talents. So it may be that you are an author of books. Maybe you're someone who creates pottery, paintings, photography, woodwork, jams, handcrafts like quilts and so on and so forth. So it's an opportunity for you to show those off or to sell them. And essentially the Kaleidoscope of the Arts is a fundraiser for the Resident Benefit Fund. And the Benefit Fund is a pool of money that is utilized for the greater good of the Woodland Pond community to make big purchase items that benefit everyone that's here. And so it's $20 per table, and that goes to the benefit fund. But if you choose to sell your creations, then you can keep that money. And we also have a bake sale during that time, and all that money raised goes to the benefit fund as well. And there's also raffle baskets, which are extremely popular, from wine and cheese to lotions and soaps, you name it. We come up with some really creative baskets. And Kaleidoscope takes place on a Friday and Saturday. This year it's going to be Saturday, October 20th from 10 to 4. And it's open to residents this year, and specific guests of residents are okay, but it's not open to the wider public. We're keeping it on a smaller scale this year. So that's Kaleidoscope of the Arts. And if you have any questions about that, you can certainly feel free to see me or see Gretchen, but it's really a wonderful event that we're looking forward to having again. And we're having a special piano concert coming up on Tuesday, the 21st at 7 o'clock here in the PAC. And it's a concert of appreciation celebrating the gift of the Steinway grand piano, which is right here in the PAC. And the recital will include performances by residents for solo, classical, and jazz piano, piano four hands, and piano accompanying other instruments. So 40 of the 80 available seats that will be in the PAC will be reserved for people who contributed directly to the Steinway grand piano. And then the remaining 40 seats will be available to anyone else on a first come, first served basis by signing up with the concierge. So that will definitely be a really great concert. And one more announcement is the Veterans Cafe. That is being held on Wednesday, September 22nd at 2:30. And originally that was going to be in the health center, but now it's going to be here in the PAC. So that's a change in location. And what the Veterans Cafe is it's Hudson Valley Hospice partnering with Woodland Pond to provide a Veterans Cafe in which we're honoring veterans throughout the Hudson Valley. And it's a collaborative effort to recognize all the veterans in our area. Those were all the announcements that I have. And I just wanted to remind you all that my door is always open and my phone is on. And it's been really great over the last several weeks to just be receiving more regular visits and calls from all of you. And, you know, many of those calls are questions you have, concerns you have, things that you might be worried about regarding yourself or your neighbor. So please feel free to utilize me as a resource if you've got something on your mind. All right, any questions for me? Yes, Betsy.
Regarding the concert, those people who donated, will they get invitations?
That is a good question. Let me take a look and see what it says here because I am not sure about that. I'll have to find out. Cynthia Fisher has been the main person who's been coordinating it, so I can find out from her. I believe that the 40 number for the seats that were reserved for this concert is based on how many people donated. Yep. Yep, I'll talk to Cynthia and see if she had planned to have that done. Right, and again, I'll ask Cynthia if she plans to have a list of the donors.
Sarah, can you just confirm the date of the Kaleidoscope again, please?
Yep, the Kaleidoscope is Saturday, October 20th from 10 to 4. And on Friday afternoon, yeah, I was just looking, I'm like, wait a second.
That's what I know is asking.
But it says application forms are available beginning Monday, August 30th. The show is Saturday. This does say October 20th. All right, so I must have like an old, maybe I just don't have the most recent newsletter. So the Kaleidoscope is Saturday, October 16th. Yes, and Friday for employees from 2:30 to 4:30. I must have, I probably have an older version of the September newsletter before I got the final edits. Sorry about that. Yes, right.
This is not really a question, it's a sales pitch. This is the final month for the Employee Appreciation Fund collection. We have just crossed $175,000 in money brought in. I'm very hopeful that we can get over $200,000. So I hope that anybody who has not yet contributed will contribute. The suggested amount is $1,000 per person, which sounds like a great deal of money, but it's $2.74 per day. We are much more interested in increasing the level of participation. So we would like you to donate whatever you feel you can to increase that. The participation at the moment is 80% in independent living and 37% in the health center. Obviously, we want to boost the health center in particular. So if you have friends there and anything you can do to help increase the level of participation there would be great. Thanks.
Thank you, Ray. All right, anything else? Okay, well, I hope you enjoy the beautiful afternoon. I've heard it's nice and toasty outside.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Ronnie Licata, dining director. Most of it I'm going to talk about, you guys kind of already know about. I'm going to just kind of talk about the Sunday brunch situation. We're looking at a 3-week hold on Sunday brunch, and we're hopeful to get that back up and running for the 4th week. There have been some conversations about the menu mix on Sunday. So if there's something that you think that we can be offering to make it more appealing for you, please share that information with me, not with you. I need to know that information. And I can look at that for when we reopen. We are going to continue to pause the burgers in the dining room because I still don't have the extra person to man at the grill. We are waiting for a gentleman to start soon, so I'm hopeful to get those burgers back up and running in the dining room. The biggest thing I want to talk about is reservations, because I think it's the hot topic for all of us. It takes a lot of time for me. It takes a lot of time for you guys. Today, some of you may have seen a sign up at the hostess stand talking about the reservation sheet up there for you to look at for today. And when we do have potentially a challenge, we will do that. I'll put the sign up. You can look at your reservation, because a lot of the traffic we get at the hostess stand for the couple hours we're there is, do I have a reservation tonight? Do I have a reservation? So we're going to start posting that up first thing in the morning, and you guys can come look and see if you have it. The other thing is just to remind everybody, the dining committee did vote to ask all residents to only come to the dining room 3 times a week to allow everybody an opportunity to dine. I do tell people, if it's, you made your 3 reservations and you want to check today for tomorrow for your 4th and there's still a spot, we'll be more than happy to seat you, but try to, in your advanced reservations, try not to do more than the 3 a week, so it gives everybody an opportunity. And I think that's pretty much it for me. I just want to do a couple housekeeping things, and I'm open for any questions that anybody might have.
Ronnie, I just wanted to know if you're having any luck in trying to get additional staff in the dining room, wait staff.
I actually am. I think I gave HR about 7 applications in the last week, and that's for my entire facility, though. That's between cooks, dietary aides, and wait staff. I think many of you know I'm going to lose a couple people in your dining room that you're used to seeing, and we'll deal with it. We'll get there. The other thing that was accomplished today, and it's kind of we joked about it today at a meeting, is I was able to get a poster up at the high school telling them, and it's the first time I've ever done this, letting them know about the positions we have and general schedules, and hopefully we'll get some candidates that way. And I am in communication with the college. They changed their program, their platform for posting positions, and I haven't been able to find out what that new platform is yet, but I am working on it actively. So I'm hopeful that we'll have some more people soon. Okay, but obviously comes training with that. So it's not you see them in the door and you still have another couple of weeks before they're actually comfortable.
Yes, I do. During COVID, which is still going on, many of the residents were involved in delivering food to, and I enjoyed it. And others, I think, would feel good about resuming that if that was part of our to help the situation in terms of delivering food to apartments.
I mean, I'm open to it. That's, I don't, how do you feel about that, Michelle?
Well, first of all, I feel embarrassed because I just remembered we never got those bottles of wine and our thank you gifts to our delivery deputies.
You are 100% correct.
Carl,
I apologize. I think that may have fallen on me.
I'm blushing. It's on both of us.
Okay.
So yes, we have to do that. But as far as the future use of delivery deputies and everything else, I think we could take volunteers for a number of things. And I'm going to talk a little bit about staffing when Ronnie's done. So you can kind of I can let you know the meetings that we're having and the opportunities that we have. But delivery deputies could certainly be helpful. I don't know how many deliveries we're actually doing though, except now we're going to do them on Sundays.
Yeah, it's definitely not as much as it used to be. For those of you that did deliveries, we were stacking up 6 carts a day. We're probably down about 2 carts. So we definitely wouldn't need as many people, and it might not be as much work for those that were delivering going forward. So I'm open to it.
But we also talked about possibly if people are interested in sitting at the hostess desk during the day and being the one to confirm your reservation or take your meal order. And also picking up at the pub. So what I think I'll do is I will leave an instruction with the concierge and I'll put information in the Chanticleer about if you might be interested in a volunteer opportunity and what kinds of things you might be interested in. You can leave your information with the concierge and then we can give you a ring. Thank you for offering.
Yeah, thank you.
Ina? You're welcome.
Ronnie, this has been an ongoing question. When is the cycle going to change? The food's been the same ongoing. You keep saying it's going to change.
You're 100% correct. I'm acting as 3 managers right now, so it's a little challenging for me to get that task completed. I apologize. I just don't have enough time in the day to complete it. We have already put about 40 hours into it, and it just needs another like 10 or 15 hours. And I just don't have the time right now. It is my number 2 issue in my brain. Number 1 is staffing, and number 2 is getting that menu done. I can't find the time right now. Mike was spearheading it, and he got about 85% complete. We just have to finish completing it.
You talked about what would be posted at the hostess desk. Is there any possibility, if openings do exist, that there could be a sign-up sheet where we can grab those last-minute openings that are there?
Yeah, so what I did today is I know a lot of you have seen what our the printout that we use to seat you. I plan on putting that out there, and then what I did is I highlighted where there was an empty spot, and I can allow you to come to the desk, and if you see a yellow highlight, write your name in. If there's an entire extra table that can be filled, I'll put 4 lines down, and if you come with a party of 4, just write everybody's name down, and then that table will be taken. So I do plan on trying to kind of adjust that so that you can come when we're not there and you can look, and because it's definitely a lot of time spent asking, do I have a reservation tonight? And who am I sitting with? And what time am I coming? So I want to try to alleviate some of that. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, here I am again, everyone. I do have a 2:30 conference call with the Department of Financial Services, so I will have to scoot in a couple of minutes. But I do just really want to spend some time talking about our efforts on staffing. Okay, and I also want to talk for a moment about the news that you may have seen yesterday about the injunction with the vaccine mandate in New York. So I will start with that. Actually, I'll start with the bigger picture. Just a refresher that New York State has mandated that all employees of facilities and communities like Woodland Pond be vaccinated beginning with their first dose no later than September 27th. And so that is the rule set that we've been working under. The federal government has a similar mandate in effect for facilities like ours that accept Medicare and Medicaid. So we currently have a state mandate and a federal mandate, both in effect, that will be coming into effect. So typically when there has been a vaccine mandate, there are 2 different types of exemptions that an employee can seek: a medical exemption and a religious exemption. When New York State issued their mandate, they eliminated the option of a religious exemption, which is unprecedented. And some are finding it to be in conflict with the certain aspects of different acts that have been put into effect in the past. So there has been a claim filed in the New York State, in a federal court in New York, by 17 medical practitioners that have indicated that New York State, not including that medical exemption, religious exemption option, is unconstitutional. And so as of yesterday, that federal court ruled in favor of granting a temporary restraining order against the mandate. Now, it's very confusing because if you read the restraining order, it indicates that the mandate, in as much as it includes the religious exemption, your inability to have the religious exemption is temporarily restrained against. So as providers, we are trying to figure out, does that mean that the mandate itself is completely tabled, or something to do with the religious exemptions? The latest information that we've gotten from our advocacy organization, which came across my desk an hour ago, is that it is the interpretation that of the Department of Health and others, that the mandate is still in effect, but the constitutionality of the religious exemption will be under review. So we are trying to work through what that means for this campus and confirm that that's the case. Right now, we are operating as if the mandate is still in effect until we are told specifically otherwise. One of the challenges is the hearing to address, the next hearing on this is the 28th, and the mandate is supposed to be going into effect on the 27th. So there's going to be some timing issues. It's going to probably get a little bit messy. What this does is we don't know what it means for the remaining staff members that would have intended to put in a religious exemption request. So it's kind of all up in the air. Okay. But right now we're operating as if we are going to lose those staff at this point. Adele, did you have a question? I'll get to that. So we have been meeting daily, and we had a very, very lengthy and sizable meeting this morning. Every member of my leadership team was there, and we did a roundtable to identify every opportunity for that department to modify services such that we can move non-clinical tasks or non-specific tasks to administrative staff, to per diem staff. We went through every task, every department, to see who we could move around to where, what things we can change to make sure that, if we do in fact lose 12 full-time nursing staff and a number of part-timers, 5, dietary staff in the health center, what are we going to have to move around? Because those are the real numbers, in addition to 5 or so in independent living across the different departments. So we have identified a lot of opportunities, a lot of creative stuff. So at the same time that we're going to be facing this, we were already in a staffing shortage because staffing is short everywhere and has been since the beginning of the pandemic. So it's been challenging. So our team is really looking at just being extremely creative in terms of what we're doing. So Angel, who has been an RN for us on a partial basis over here for the last several months on the weekends, she's being redeployed back to to skilled nursing, to work full-time until we can get her position backfilled. Mary Jo is going to be running our testing clinic on Tuesday mornings, because we need to use our nurses as nurses at this point, like truly nurses and clinical staff. Cassidy is being reassigned to assisted living until further notice as a unit clerk and in records management, because she's extremely capable, and the nursing staff need to be able to focus on giving medications and doing treatments rather than sitting on the phone with doctors' offices. So Cassidy will thrive in this role, and then she'll be back. Connor will be available to help with technology needs. So you're going to see a lot of things moving around, and a lot of per diem staff coming in to help backfill administrative stuff. On a recruitment side, we're offering very significant sign-on bonuses for our hardest to fill positions. We're offering referral bonuses to staff that refer full-time and part-time staff members. We have created an opportunity for staff to potentially access transportation to work if that is an issue. partial shifts, shift flexibility, all a variety of things. So we are really working hard to be able to keep your services as intact as possible and still shuffle around with a lot of this. So please be patient. Please know that there is a lot of brain power looking at this issue. But we've got, if we've got 250 staff members, we're looking at probably losing 5 to 7%, and they're primarily clinical staff. So just, please be aware of that. The other thing that we have made the hard decision to do is we are not going to be taking into skilled nursing any short-term subacute rehab patients unless they're contract holders. So if you live here and you need rehab, of course you'll come in, but we are licensed to and typically do have somewhere between 7 to 10 outsiders that are in getting rehab services. This is one way that we can eliminate a need for staffing an additional 20 to 25% of our unit. Of course, there's a revenue impact to that too. So we have to make these decisions very carefully, but we can only care for what we can care for. We are offering our staff significant incentives to pick up extra shifts and doing things to recognize their efforts. It's a lot of, there's a lot of morale issues on the units now because people are feeling a little bit resentful of their coworkers that maybe are not going to stay. And it's just challenging. So at the same time that we're dealing with operational issues, we're also dealing with a lot of personal and personnel type issues. So it's not just everybody's on easy street that are staying here. And a lot of the people that have decided to stay and be vaccinated didn't do so with both feet jumping in. So a lot did decide to vaccinate and have had their first dose, but with great trepidation and some resentment. So if you could just be sensitive to that and just be aware that we're dealing with quite a lot of things, and just be maybe a little more patient than usual. We're having the same conversation with all of our staff members, is that this is a very hard time for us. We're potentially having to say goodbye to a lot of people that we care about, but just it's not the right fit given where we are with the pandemic. We just have kind of a lot going on. So just please be patient with us and each other, and just kind of know where we're at on that. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover. I could go on for hours, but otherwise I would miss my call with the Department of Financial Services, and we must not do that. Does anybody have anything for me that should be addressed today? Oh, okay, right. And Adele had the same question. We have no information on it. I promise you that any information on the third shot. Actually, I read yesterday that the authorities are saying that most people don't need it. They came out definitively and said that most people do not need it. So what I would recommend is you should call your physician. At this point, this should be a conversation between you and your physician. If you haven't already called, you should contact them and find out from them if they think that based on the guidance that they're getting as your practitioner, if you need it, that's got to be who drives that conversation. And they'll tell you if you qualify or not. And I do have to excuse myself because I'm going to be late for DFS and they're not going to be happy. Okay. Thanks, everyone.